Hi, this is Raymond Lynn Neuer. This is for Athens State CE510 for Dr. Thornton and diversity and inclusion in the aviation community. I picked Delta Airlines as an example and did some research for those. Delta Airlines, look at them, their continuing improvements. I've worked with them for a little bit in the past, so that's why I picked this airline. Look at three different texts. I was able to find three different texts at the Athens State Library: The Diversity Machine with Frederick Lynch, Women and Men in Management, and then Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in Action. And then the rest of the articles were taken from the delta.com website. They have a very good website that does just for diversity and equity and inclusion. These are three of the ones that I used. Starting off with Forbes named them, and then diversity and equity and inclusion as they climb, and then the final one was diversity, equity, inclusion that spoke of the racial and ethnic diversity, people with disabilities, veterans, and inclusion. A nice picture of their airlines. And then the Bastine, which is the CEO, has his thing as transparency is key to driving the change. He published these numbers later this year. This is their workforce: baby boomers 18%, Generation X 41%, Generation Y 36%, and then Generation Zulu 4% of the workforce. In 2020, Forbes magazine named Delta the top workplace for diversity. They also are doing a lot of work with the Society of Women Engineers and Girls Who Code as part of the airline's efforts to seek diversity in the STEM fields, which is really getting really popular these days with trying to include. You can tell the frontline sales, the other managers, the general manager and vice presidents, this is broken down into everything else. The one that stood out the most was the vice presidents, and above was really low with Black and other racial ethnic groups, and we'll talk about that again in a few minutes with how they want to change that perception. The success and the failure of any diversity actions, inclusion, falls directly on the leadership. This is something I sort of took to make sure to go back and watch and see how Bastine included all this and how he wants to improve that chances in the Delta Airlines. Women and Men in Management, one of the book I picked up at Athens State, and it understands the effect of diversity and the effectiveness of mixed teams is of the greatest concern for modern business. So this was back in 2003, but it's still today still is an active process to try to change in the upcoming. Message from CEO that they are proactively identifying and building relationships with high quality, small, minority, and women-owned business enterprises. These are for the diverse suppliers. These are all the people they use for everything else besides their immediate pilots and management and maintenance and support. They are looking at who also works with Delta, that he's wanting them to make sure that they are actively pursuing the same concepts. The code of conduct this is straight from November 2021 after Mr. Bastine took over. Committed to the high standard of safety, customer service, ethical conduct, and environmental protection. This really sums up how he wants to change things in the world, in the Delta world. August 2020, Delta Airlines CEO taking a hard look on their own record of diversity, and he didn't like what he saw. He said people of color represents 43%, and then the Black represents only 21% of the employee base, 16% of the overall leaders, and 7%. He made a comment that this is not a picture of equity, which is really coming really good from the CEO, nor is it reflective of the world we serve. He's taking claim of these numbers, committed human resources to make sure that they work on these numbers. This is coming straight from the CEO's desk, which will hold a lot of water into what they want to do. This was at one of their conferences on this particular diversity training in Atlanta. These were some of the things I pulled out of one of the books that was Climate for Inclusion emerges when organizational members feel recognized for having a unique identity. Just because they're diversity does not mean they're following inclusion. Inclusion is make them a part of the team, not just as a number. Organization really becomes unsuccessful and gains the benefits of inclusion once this inclusion process starts working. Women in diversity, professional employment presents a particular organization a time that holds different implications for men than for women. This was back in 2016, but it was they really brought home that they thought that a lot of the issues for women not into the career fields and management above was because of home care. This is an old adage that they're doing. It seems like they're working on that. It's just not as prevalent as it was back 10 years ago, and it looks like they're still changing for that same reason. They also looked at international diversity because Delta is a worldwide competition and worldwide management. The management company also makes it possible to develop diversity of workplace by extending the pool of possible candidates. This goes right back into what Mr. Bastine was talking about with the suppliers that they use. They want people not only in their company, but people that they deal with. This is the CEO in the middle and his continued response. These are some of the reference lists I took. Like I said, I had 3 books from the Athens State Library, and then the rest of them were from the www.delta, and they have a whole part of their website that deals with nothing but just diversity and inclusion. That concludes my presentation. Thanks for listening.